So Vigilantes, Arrow Season 7, Episode 13 was a very good episode. We got to revisit a character from earlier on in this season, which I won't talk about just yet, but that was very creepy. But also the flash forward set up something very interesting, but I also feel very obvious. So let's break down Arrow Season 7, Episode 13, The Star City Slayer. How's it going, Vigilantes? Welcome to a brand new review of Arrow Season 7, Episode 13. I really enjoyed this episode. They said that, I think this was the episode they said they were going to kind of push the boundaries with. And to be honest, I'm not really scared of anything horror and stuff like that. Maybe the supernatural side of things, actually. But, you know, I don't often get creeped out. But I definitely have to give this episode kudos in terms of, you know, let me just say it, the Star City Slayer being Stanley. Obviously, if you're watching this, you should know it's spoilers. He did a phenomenal job at being creepy, even when just, you know, the Team Arrow went to investigate that house with Stanley in it, and the scenes of Dinah on the floor and just struggling and gurgling, and all of that was, I think, if I remember correctly, I don't know if we've seen stuff that graphic in Arrow before. If not, it's certainly up there at the top. But other than that, I loved the, you know, despite William and Oliver's scenes not being mega popular all the time, their scenes, and especially Stephen Amell's acting, was very powerful. And, you know, this episode anyway was a big launch into how Oliver, you know, I feel like he kind of wants everything. I don't necessarily blame him, like he's a vigilante now again, but he's a public Green Arrow vigilante, Arrow cop kind of thing. He wants his family and he wants, his kid and a happy life, but you can't have everything, especially if you're the goddamn Green Arrow, right? But before I get on and talk too much else about all of this, subscribe to this channel if you are brand new for more Arrow reviews just like this, and of course go ahead and like it if you do enjoy it, as it really does help this channel out, really helps the video grow, so thank you so much if you do go ahead and do that. But let's get straight into this. So I just want to start off by saying, how did Stanley get those messages into like places like Argus and stuff? Okay, I'm not really going to nitpick all of that, but seriously though for a second. But anyway, of course we had Stanley sending messages to everybody. This has been done for quite a few episodes now. I do have to wonder why Laurel wasn't really present in this episode. Since she was given messages as well, you would have thought that maybe she would get involved, but I suppose, you know, Laurel, even though she's been quite prominent this season, it wasn't mega important to include her. Just going back to that William talk like I did in the intro of this video, I do get it. Like, William, technically, if you've been watching from the beginning of Season 7, you'll know that I think when he got onto the island with Roy, he was kind of talking about boarding school. He referenced that. And then when he came back, I think people were getting a bit confused because, like, well, technically, we thought that William was never kind of picked up or was maybe left at boarding school by Felicity and Oliver. But now it's kind of expanded where William's grandparents are filing a suit potentially for guardianship for William against Oliver and Felicity. And I was just like, oh man, like, are we really going to see a bunch of this episode? But it was good. As I said, it was good. I really enjoyed it. Seeing Oliver infuriated by the idea of William being taken away, and I feel like, you know, being in Season 7 of Arrow now, as I briefly mentioned a minute ago, I think things have kind of never been better for Oliver in the sense that he's literally a cop Green Arrow vigilante. Like, there's nothing illegal about what he's doing now, really. I mean, technically Felicity's probably hacking into governments, things like that, but either way, and he's got his family and he can't have it all. So this episode really highlighted that with, you know, him trying to point out that, you know, stay here, blah blah, but then, you know, it couldn't be more apparent with him being the Green Arrow, William will never have a normal life. So obviously this episode they really thrusted that in everyone's faces, with Stanley literally going to the freaking Green Arrow's house, with family dinner being the time of when he entered, and they could have literally all got murdered because they were paralyzed. So if that doesn't point out why William should probably take a back seat, go away and live with the grandparents, like that kind of got concluded in this episode, you know, it is very obvious. So I do want to say that scene when they were shouting at each other, basically, that was really powerful. I feel like we haven't had stuff like that all the time in Arrow, and you only get a couple of those moments a season. And just even though that was between Oliver and William, I really liked it. And then obviously the goodbye scene as well. It was, you know, even though I don't always feel mega much towards William's character, at least when he's younger, I felt really heartbroken for Stephen Amell's Oliver Queen in that moment, because, you know, we kind of got an inkling of where this is going to go in the future. Something happens, or like something happens to the point where he doesn't really connect with his father again. At least that's what they're implying. But amongst the flash forward scenes, we did get other things in the present, which, you know, as Beth Schwartz has said, and I've said this probably 1,000 times in my reviews, the purpose of those scenes is to see how present day, you know, affects the future, or should I say the future, we're going to see how that happens in present day. So we saw a little scene of Dinah training, you know, Renee's daughter Zoe, and we know that literally she's a Black Canary in training, or like kind of established Black Canary in the future with Dinah. So that was really neat. But also, you know, I guess we can talk about those flash forward scenes now. At least I'll save that reveal towards the end, the very obvious reveal. I mean, let me know down in the comments below if you didn't guess that, but I would be surprised. But anyway, of course, we had, you know, the flash forward scenes with them initially saying, oh, the Archer program is supposed to see everything. And I can't wait until that gets introduced into this season, because that is literally such an overpowered thing. Really does remind me of the Nolan films with Batman, you know, not even wanting to use that technology, for example, because it's just, you know, if that fell into the wrong hands, it's you know, you literally have access to everything in the city. You could find anything and everyone. So I'm guessing that will get implemented in the present day at some point, to, you know, give vigilantes such an all-knowing power and to be able to find and stop crime. But I'm guessing it's going to backfire. But of course, you know, they went into the Arrow Cave, and from the end of last episode, we know that's where Blackstar and Connor Hawke went. So when they were going in there, I was like, oh, you know, I think they're going to creep up on them. And lo and behold, Roy was just like, you know, people have already been here, and so they got captured. Now, this is where we have Blackstar just beating William. She was being a little bit of a bitch to Zoe, and either way, you could tell, and I think we've all felt this, and I don't want to mention it right now, but the reveal was so obvious, and I feel like the second she was on screen, I knew who she was meant to be, and she's had a complicated upbringing, because, you know, I will go over this promo, the next week's promo, in my promo breakdown, so check out the cards above for several hours time for when that's here, or the channel, just keep your eyes out. But in the next episode, we're getting previews of Felicity learning about Diggle working with Diaz, and this is where it's all gonna go down like kind of hill for Felicity, I think. And we've already had teasers of that at the beginning of the season, but then she went like, it fluctuated to like a normal Felicity, and now we're gonna go back downhill. You can kind of see the future of when Felicity kind of gets pregnant with Oliver. Like, look how it's worked out for William, and now they're gonna have a daughter and all this shit going down in the future. You can understand how Blackstar has kind of, or should I say Mia, has ended up, or Mia, whatever it was, the way she is. Now, I do think they will all come together. So, like, you know, they're obviously, she's very against Vigilante, and I guess she feels this way as well, because, oh, look at her father, and, like, look how that worked out. I mean, they were good one time, but something obviously happened to Star City regarding Vigilantes that went downhill. But when Blackstar was asking William, you know, so what is it, you know, what is in it for him in terms of finding Felicity? And it's just like, well, I don't know, like, I guess to ask Felicity why she disappeared from my life. So it's just like, this brings me back to the whole, you know, what the heck is happening to Oliver? Now, obviously, they're keeping this under wraps because, you know, we didn't know if we were getting a season 8. What is happening with him on Crisis on Infinite Earths? Did he really sacrifice himself? So if that was the case, just assuming if something like that happens, did Felicity kind of look after him at some point after the grandparents thing? And why would it have only... The question here I want to highlight is, why would it have only been Felicity looking after him? Where was Oliver? So, like, I just definitely want you guys to think about that. I don't have the solution right now. Obviously, a lot of people are for the Crisis on Infinite Earths, you know, monitor exchange with Oliver possibly sacrificing himself for Kara and Barry and blah, blah, blah. And maybe that comes to fruition, or, you know, they're very careful to not exactly announce what happened to Oliver. But I think it's a kind of a telling sign that, oh, I want to find out why Felicity abandoned me. It's like, well, where was Oliver and all that? Where was he? That is the question, people. I also like this episode how, like, Dinah was kind of getting used to coping with being, like, an outed Black Canary, kind of like a meta out of the closet kind of thing. That was, you know, just showing through her walking throughout the SCPD, but I like that. Captain Singh, cool cameo they did. You know, he even called, like, oh, meta freaks, and it was like, oops, not that I meant any offense to you, Dinah. So I kind of like that in this episode. But ultimately, this was, you know, kind of Stanley's episode with, you know, trying to take down Team Arrow because he felt like he was protecting Oliver, and he even wanted to start a new team. So, like, he was so twisted, and I felt like his performance was so good. It really, really was. I was so pleasantly surprised there. That actor, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but, you know, when he was playing Stanley, I was like, yeah, fair enough, you know, cool character, a bit weird, blah, 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 but that, he's completely transformed his role. You know, let's talk a little bit about Dinah, you know, getting her throat slit. We all knew she was going to be fine, and I do want to bring up, this is whether you are really a fan of the flash forward scenes or not, this is the kind of problem with them. Now, you could not look at it that way and say, oh, but look at how it's coming to fruition. I like that. I agree as well. I'm in kind of both sides of the ballpark here. But we also know it's an inevitability. You know, we were just waiting to know how she got her scar. So, like, you know, it's very interesting to kind of see where you land and what side of the, you know, the ballpark, so to speak, of whether you're for the flash forward scenes or not. But let me put it this way. We're always going to know whenever something happens in the future, that is going to inevitably happen, and there's nothing that can be done about it. Unless they time travel, but that's not going to happen. They've already said that. So, I don't know. Either way, I am intrigued to see if she can still Canary cry. I think, personally, I don't think she'll be able to. I feel like, you know, this scar is meant to spell that out and she'll be just a normal vigilante now. Or at the very least, when she does it, it must come at a consequence. Maybe it hurts her or something like that. But I'd love to know what you thought of this. Now, I want to talk about Curtis for a second. Now, after all of this happened and they're in a hospital and stuff, it seems that he's taking a role in Washington, D.C. or something like that. And he's not going to take up, you know, Diggle's offer to be the head of science and technology division in Argus. So I'm guessing this means we actually not, unless I'm wrong, is Curtis leaving the show? I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. Or maybe he would just occur or come back at different points. But I feel like they very clearly spelled it out, like, okay, Curtis is going for a bit. He said his goodbyes. Am I going to miss Curtis? Yeah, sure. I mean, he's been in the show for a while now. And I feel like I have liked him more than maybe other people have, but he's never been significantly important to me. I don't think Team Arrow or the show is going to have a massive loss with him going away. And I don't mean any disrespect to the actor or anything like that. I just mean this show, like, if you have to remove, you know, for example, compare this like to Cisco on The Flash, it is nothing comparable to that, at least in my eyes. But you may be a huge Ask Curtis fan, and I'd love to know what you think of this decision in the story in this latest episode. Going back to the flash forwards now to conclude this review, they revealed that Felicity is still alive, or at least that's what Mia said, but, you know, she just wants to find her. Very, very obvious. I've been saying this since the get-go. What if Felicity, and I'm not taking credit for this, or I'm the first one to say or anything, but it has been kind of obvious that what if she was a double bluff? What if she really didn't turn dark and she was just getting in with a bad crowd to really protect the city? I feel like it's kind of predictable. I might not be spot on there, but I definitely feel like it's going that route. And then lo and behold, she was like, you're not going to kill me. Oh, no, wait. I definitely would say that fight scene was awesome, by the way. Like, they're all really on the same side, but, you know, it was still really cool to see all of that. But anyway, William got the drop on Mia and she was like, you're not going to kill me because I'm technically his sister, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, no shock there. It really isn't a shock. You know, I guess I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm guessing Felicity is obviously going to get pregnant pretty soon because the flash forwards are around 20 years in the future. We're going to learn more about why she despises the vigilantes and what happened to Star City. I think it's going to have a bit of daddy issues there with being a vigilante, and maybe whatever happened to Oliver, whether that's Crisis on Earth X, Felicity has a much darker attitude in the future. Maybe blames Oliver for like doing whatever he did, and F you, husband, for sacrificing yourself for the world kind of thing, or, you know, in a very Iris West end of season 3 of The Flash kind of way. You get what I'm trying to say. But either way, looking forward to see what happens. So this is what I mean. I've got each shoe in each side of the park when it comes to the flash forward scenes. I'm intrigued, but I'm also finding them problematic. But let me know what you thought of this episode anyway, guys. Pleasantly surprised by it. It was a really cool episode. It was full of drama and emotion and creepiness and really cool future scenes. But aside from that, everyone, like this video if you did enjoy it. Really does help out the channel, especially if you got this far. Subscribe if you're brand new for more Arrow reviews just like this. As I said, check out the channel in several hours' time for the trailer breakdown. But that is everything, guys. Links as always in the description down below. If you want to talk with me directly on Discord, I definitely recommend that. As I said, server invite is down there and everything else. But thank you so much for watching, Vigilantes. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.